Hey, Holly Hill, we're almost to the end of the month of October, so that means it's time to focus on our serving mission. Remember what our vision here at the Holly Hill Church of Christ is: to be where Christ lives, where people love, and where lives change. And we're going to accomplish that through our mission to equip the saints, teach the word, and serve the world. So today, because it's the last week in the month of October, we're going to be talking about our serving aspect of our mission. So as just a reminder, serving is about doing the work of Christ in the world through love. You know, we talked about how equipping is about sharing, teaching is about communicating, and so serving is about doing. So our challenge for the month for serving for this last week is ask a deacon, ministry leader, elder, or minister how you can help and serve in the way that they need you to help. And the passage that I'm going to be reading for this is Mark chapter 10, verses 44 and 45. It says, "And whoever would be first among you must be slave of all, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So it's all about selflessly serving and wanting to be the one that is helping and serving other people rather than the one that's being served. So when talking about our rationale for this challenge, there's far more work to be done than there are workers. You know, Jesus himself said, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few." So if everyone was eager to serve, think of how much we could do for God in this community. So pick a ministry and ask its leader how you can serve in it. So let's look at the questions for this challenge that we asked during our last mission training night, the first Sunday night in the month of October. We asked this question: how would you feel personally if you were heading up a ministry and never received any help? How would that affect your ministry, sense of worth within the congregation, and your effectiveness? And essentially everybody said it would make them feel unappreciated. If you just put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's just started up a ministry, let's say you've started a new, you want to meet once a month and, do some sort of spiritual activity together. But for some reason, nobody seems to want to be involved. Nobody seems to want to help. You rarely get people to sign up or to volunteer. You would feel unappreciated. You would feel overwhelmed, probably, with the amount of things that you need to do because you're not getting the help that you need from your brothers and sisters in Christ. It would make you want to give up for sure. When you're not getting any volunteers, no help, nobody that seems interested in what it is that you're doing for the Lord, then you just want to give up. You want to say, okay, if this isn't valued by anybody, then why am I even doing this? You're going to feel burned out. You're going to give up over time. And that's a sad thing, that we have ministries, we have people doing things that are feeling this way. I mean, right now, within the congregation, I want you to think of it, several different ministries, and think of maybe how the people heading up those ministries could feel underappreciated, overwhelmed, and burnt out. And then the question is, what can you do about it? What can you do to help them to not feel that way? So let's talk about, that leads us to the second question, which is talk about with your group and list out all the possible ministries and areas of serving within the congregation that people could help out with. Now, we just wrote down a few in our group. I don't think we got an exhaustive list, but the idea was teaching. That one kept coming up over and over again, teaching or being a teacher's helper in the Bible classes, volunteering to help with VBS and other community or, holiday events or seasonal events is what I mean to say. things like that. Great Day in May is another one. You know, those bigger events that we have throughout the year, you know, at a regular time. You could volunteer to help out with those. The welcome team, you could volunteer for that. Outreach, reaching out into the community with the gospel or, you know, in other ways. Helping out with a backpack program, the card ministry, the food pantry and the food box ministry, the teen ministry, the you know, helping with administrative things like what Matthew is doing now, being a greeter at the door, you know, to welcome people in. And that's just a few examples. I mean, there's so many things that right now are going on within the congregation that you could get involved with, things that need your help. So think about all of those things. Think about all those ministries, all of those ways that you can get involved, and think about how maybe the people who are heading up those ministries are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and burnt out, maybe because they're not getting the help and the support they need. They're not getting the servants to help out that they need, which we're all about serving this week with our mission. So that leads us to our third question. Why do so many people in our congregation seem to not have a heart to serve, and how do we change our hearts to desire a lifestyle of servanthood? Now, this question kind of hits close to home. Why are there people in our congregation that don't seem to have a heart to serve? And when we were doing this on mission training night, I put in parentheses, and maybe even some people at this table, because, you know, we split up in groups and talk at the tables about this. And I would hate for people to think, yeah, you know, I'm a good servant, but we've got a lot of other people in this congregation that are just not willing to help out. That's not the way to think at all. You know, we need to look to ourselves and say, am I the one that's not being a servant? So why are there people in this congregation, and maybe even us, if we're being honest with ourselves, seem to not have a heart to serve? And how do we change our hearts, transform our hearts to desire a lifestyle of servanthood? Well, the first part of that question, why are there people in our congregation that don't want to serve, or maybe why we don't want to serve? And the answers are simple: a fleshly lifestyle, fleshly desires. We're focused on the flesh, not on the spiritual. So we're going to put our emphasis on fleshly things, on worldly things, and not on the church. Another one might be being afraid of vulnerability. Being afraid to launch out there and, you know, just jump right in and get to work, and we're afraid of reaching out to people, which I think is so sad in the culture that we have built for ourselves, where it's no longer socially acceptable in the same way to, you know, talk to people and connect with people. And so we've trained ourselves to be afraid of vulnerability. You know, we talk about personality conflicts. That might be another one why we're not seeing more people volunteering, because of personality conflicts. But remember, we are the church. When we come to the church, we set aside those things, and we are unified. We're a unified family of God. And in Acts chapter 4, it said that, you know, they were of one heart and one soul. They were of one mind. And so that's how the church is described. Those personality conflicts don't have any place here. You might have a very different personality from somebody, but that doesn't mean you can't work together and be on the same page. Another reason why some people might not want to be involved and serve is this mentality of, you know, I've done a lot. I'm kind of tired out. I'm burnt out. I have served for many years in this congregation, and now it's time for somebody else to take the reins. That idea is nowhere found in Scripture. Jesus was a servant up till the very moment he died. because that was the whole point of him coming here. And so we're to be servants up until the very last breath that we have. There's no I'm retired mentality for a Christian. Also, another one that came up in our group is lack of communication. It might be difficult to be involved with things if you don't know they're happening. So, we're trying to fix this with the weekly Vine and giving you very specific, concrete things that you can be involved with, and try to give you a comprehensive list of a lot of the things going on. So, hopefully that's not as much of a problem. And especially if you're wanting to be involved, it's easy to pick up on things that you can help out with. And somebody said lack of commitment to God's work. We're just not committed. We're committed to our own work and to our own physical well-being, but we're not committed to God's work. So that might be a reason. But now, okay, so those are all the things, some of the things why we might not be dedicated to being servants in God's kingdom. But what do we do about that? How do we cultivate an attitude of selflessness and of servanthood? Well, just becoming selfless, getting rid of our ego and realizing it's not about us. And really, in Philippians chapter 2, talking about Jesus as the perfect example of what a servant looks like and how we are to look to him to understand what a picture of a servant was. We need to look to Jesus and decide to get rid of our egos and our selfishness. And we just need to pray about it. Are you praying to God to ask him to give you a heart of servanthood? Because we all need to be servants. We need to be serving. So what are the next steps here? Let's talk about this. Well, first, ask God for guidance. This is always the first step on all of these challenges because it is so important and we sometimes miss out on this aspect of prayer. Go to God and pray to him and ask that he can guide you to know where you can serve, to help you find out where your talents are, to give you success so that he may be glorified. So pray to God, ask for guidance, ask for help in your desire to serve, and ask that he can give you a desire to serve. Second, dedicate your life and your work to God. So often our lives are dedicated to other things that we don't have time for church. We don't have time for God. So in this moment right now, decide to dedicate your life and your work to God. And you could do that in your prayer. 3, choose a ministry leader and ask how you can help. Now, by making this video, I'm not saying it has to be me. It can be one of our many ministry leaders, the people who are, and I'm not talking about paid staff members or elders specifically. I'm talking about any of the deacons. I'm talking about any of the elders, any of the ministers, the Bible class teachers, the ladies in the women's program, the people that are working so hard at being servants themselves and heading up these ministries that are going on. Find one of these people and ask them how you can help. And it might be good to think, which one of these people do you think are the most discouraged or need the most help with what they're doing? That might be a good thing to ask before you choose who you're going to reach out to. And then reach out to them, ask them how you can help, and then 4, build a plan on how you can help in the way that they suggest. So if they say, I need help with this, or I need help with that, work with them to try to figure out how you can make that happen around your schedule. And be an active and participating member of this congregation. Live the mission, be the church. Live the mission, be the church. It's easy to come to church. It's not as easy to be the church. Well, it would be easy if we allowed the Spirit to lead us and if we were just filled with a desire to serve. It would be easy. But we're not. And so we need to work on that. So after you complete this challenge, remember, we're just finishing up here. Remember to drop a pom-pom ball into the serve jar at the Mission Control Center upstairs. Remember to do that so that we can keep track. We're really low on challenge completions this month for the teaching and the serving challenges. So please help us finish those up as much as we can before the month is over. Also, watch next Sunday's training video as well. They'll be coming out every week. Make plans to be at the next mission training, which I believe is November 6th at 6 p.m. Anyway, it's the first Sunday night in November at 6 p.m. Make sure to be there because we're going to be talking about how to live out the next set of missions. Also, here's a reminder, if you're part of the mission launch team, don't forget to invite someone else to join in completing these challenges. And if you have an idea for a challenge, for an equipping, a teaching, or a serving challenge, please let me know, and we can get that worked into a future training session. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let's live the mission and be the church and go out there and embrace the mission of the church. Thank you for watching. May God bless you all as you work to accomplish the mission of the church. Goodbye.